Hey, hello everyone. This is John Porter speaking from exile. I hope you're fine. You see my shirt? They allowed me to come out and wear a collared shirt. Usually we are given gray to wear around the house by our keepers, but they've allowed me out, and I'm really happy to talk to you today. I hope you're doing well. This is not a pleasant experience for anybody. If you would have told me what was going to happen, I would have declared you insane. If I told you on Ash Wednesday, February 26th, which was not that long ago, that we would not have an Easter in public or in congregations, you would have called me mad. But here we are, and it's Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, called it a what? A fire going through a dry field driven by a strong wind. And I suspect that's probably right. So we're told to take care of ourselves. We're told to stay in place, and I hope we are. If we love our nurses and doctors, then we ought to do what they ask us to do, and that is to stay in place. And, as a retired priest, you'd think I would be used to this. I left the parish 11 years ago, officially, and I left the school 6 years ago, and here I am, not used to staying at home. So it's a strange situation. But I wish you the best. Call a friend. You've been told 100,000 times to call a friend. We've all been told that. And so I did. I called people. I called Great Frost, the Frost Youth Center. I've called all friends. People are happy to hear, and they're doing the same thing we are. So I don't know. It's a place of isolation, and it's a Lent that I never thought we would have. And of course, that's what we do. Anyway, how am I coping with it? I hope you're coping with it. I'm coping with it with some humor. I make a lot of self-depreciating jokes about myself, like I'm wearing gray most of the time, except for a collared shirt when they let me out. People, people seem, people seem to think that's funny. I don't know. I don't make fun of what's happening to us. There's two tracks here. One is the illness that's troubling, and then the unemployment, which is following right on its heels. So I wish you the best of luck, and let's be happy if we can. Half the world is in exile, half the world is on the move, half the world is moving along, trying to make ends meet. Um, God has created the world flawed. I'm convinced of that. And God has created us flawed. I'm also convinced of that. And that's I'm dealing with the flaws, the inability to make everything work for me. I feel impotent, and sometimes I feel lonely, and that may be strange. But I'm really trying to be humorous. I think humor is an act of faith. I really do. I think when you laugh at the world, you laugh with the saints. I think they all had humor. I think God has humor. I mean, look who God created. He created me. Can you believe that? I used to tell the students at Holy Innocents School that every human act is flawed. If it's flawed, it has a negative effect, however unintended, on someone. If it has a negative effect, however unintended, on someone, it can be criticized and will be. And therefore, we are only called to do the best possible thing we can possibly do, given our situation. So I think back on my life, some of the mistakes that I have made in my life. It's really quite profound. My first parish, where I was the fourth priest on a staff of very experienced clergy, just ordained in the Episcopal Church, Christ Church, Greenwich, Connecticut, on the Boston Post Road, the home of Samuel Seabury, the first bishop of the Episcopal Church in America. The presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church lived in Greenwich. The president of the American Stock Exchange was in the congregation. The president of Exxon was in the congregation. The president of American Motors was in the congregation. Wall Street, masters of the universe were there. And I was the fourth priest just learning what to do. And the rector, William Bradford Turner Hastings, brought me on when Mary and I were just married. He loved us and cared for us and said, "You guys are coming to Christ Church." And so we did. It was a wonderful, wonderful 2 years. Um, the church was a beautiful, big Gothic building. There were transepts off to the side, a long, long nave, a chancel behind. And Sunday night, first Sunday of the month, Sunday night, we had solemn sung Evensong. And the rector said to me, "Would you like to do that?" And I said, because he sang it beautifully. He was a stickler on rubrics, stickler on things, gentle, compassionate man. But he was out of the out of the book on how to be an Anglican in the 1928 prayer book era. And my associates were all very skilled at singing, and I do not have a pleasant voice particularly. Nobody says to me, "John, we wish you'd sing a few solos at the wedding." No, nobody says anything like that to me. Um, but anyway, he asked me if I'd like to preside at Evensong, and I said, "Ooh, I don't know." He said, "You can do it. You can do it. We might as well learn. We learn by learning, you know." So it was the first Sunday of the month in Advent. It was my second year there, and I began Evensong. I was scared to death. I was terrified. The whole weekend was exhausting emotionally. Sunday morning, I walked through like a zombie. 5 o'clock Evensong began. The presiding bishop and Francis Ann, his wife, was there. The choirs were there. I had been practicing, but I was very nervous. About 50 or 60 people were there. It was on the radio. And I started to sing. And you know what? It was good. Ooh, it was really good. Gothic buildings are wonderful for the voice, singing. Not so good for the spoken word, but oh, the singing word. And my words just hung up there. "The Lord be with you." Ooh, it just was out there beautifully. And then they would slowly come down upon the congregation. It was just doing great. And I began to think of I might have a career someday. I might be the cantor at Canterbury Cathedral. I might be the chanter at St. Paul's in London. I mean, who knows where this is going to go? This was very well done. Monastic. Oh, I knew how to chant. And I took my eye off the ball, as I probably can do. And I made a mistake in front of the whole world, it felt like. And it was quite discouraging. There are some versicles and responses that you sing at the end of Evensong. Versicles are little verses, and then the choir responds, and they're beautiful, but they end the service. And I'm saying all I do is get through these, and I felt like my airplane was 1,000 feet from the runway, coming right in. It's going to be a beautiful landing, and here we go. And the first versicle was, "O Lord, show us your mercy upon us." And the congregation would sing, "And grant us your salvation." Ooh. And then the next one was, "Let not the needy, O Lord, be forgotten." And the choir would sing, "Nor the hope of the poor be taken away." Really beautiful things. Let not the needy, O Lord, be forgotten. But what I sang was, because I wasn't paying attention and I was fantasizing about how wonderful it was, what I sang was, "Let the needy, O Lord, be forgotten." And I couldn't get the words back. They just floated away. And the choir went, "Oh," and the whole place just went, grins, snickers. Then I had to finish. I had to do the next two, and then I had to do a collect. Then I had to do a blessing. And then I had to walk out with everybody down the aisle. Sam Walker, my colleague, who did things beautifully, went, you know. And I got outside. The presiding bishop was there with Francis Ann. This is John Murray Allen, the presiding bishop, not Frank Allen, our bishop, but John Murray Allen. And he said, "John Porter, that was really fine." But you know, John, we're trying to change that about the Episcopal Church. So we hope next time you might put in the word not. And you live with your mistakes. I mean, it wouldn't bother you. You might wonder what's the big deal, but I was terrified. I was so embarrassed. I felt like I was an ice sculpture just melting away. I don't know if you ever had that experience in your life. You just feel, this is it. If I could ban a word that's obscene, not four-letter word, I have a longer word, I would ban the word perfect because it doesn't exist. Nothing like perfect exists. Flawless, without seam, beautifully done, perfect, no such thing. It's a fantasy. The word we use as perfect comes from a Latin word, per faccio. It means to do it through and through. It means to do whatever you're doing to the end. It's to complete the work. You know, what happened to that meaning? How many people have suffered in the quest for perfection? How many people have been criticized by parents for not being perfect? The stress that perfection and the pursuit of it brings to a human life. But it doesn't exist. It never did. It's called seeing it through and through. My little grandchildren used to swim at the Marcus Jewish Community Center in Dunwoody, and I used to bring them once a week. And as they were swimming in the pool with the teachers, I was out in this large lobby, beautiful lobby, and there were great sculptures hanging, and they were in Hebrew. And my Hebrew is I can't read it anymore, if I ever did. And I saw a young Jew there. He had a yarmulke. And so I said, "Excuse me, sir, could you tell me what that means?" He said, "No, I don't know. But if you go around the other side, it'll be translated." And so I did, and there it was. It's from the Talmud, the Tikkun Halom, it's called, theology that's in the Talmud, which is a commentary on the Torah. And it said, "It may not be given to you to perfect the work, but what is given is that you not abandon it and to see things through." What a liberating concept. It's what Robert Frost, he's a wonderful poet. Robert Frost always wrote poetry about simple things. The tree the tempest with a crash of wood throws down across your path is not to bar you from your journey's end for good, but just to teach you who you think you are. Contemplating so in a foot of snow what to do without an axe. And maybe the exile that we're in, the sequestration we're in, the quarantine we're in, is just given to us to join the human race. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people are in quarantine, from tyrants, from poverty, from famine. You know who's got the exception to work the shelter in place laws in California? The migrant farm workers. Because if they don't cut the fruit and the vegetables from the field, they'll rot. And they're called essential workers. So listen, take care of yourselves. Be of good cheer. Take care of yourselves. Do the best you can. Love God. Call a friend. Call a friend. Do me a favor. Call a friend.